Good morning, guys. I'm Jaspreet Singh, founder CEO of Druva. My agenda here is the why of Druva, why we exist, what we do, the problem we solve in the industry. And as Curtis said, we'll go to the how and the what part later on. So the Druva's core agenda for any enterprise is to modernize the data protection landscape, data management landscape for any organization, right? Most organizations are on their big journey to digitalization. This is the big buzzword. The software eating the world is actually happening in front of us. You have new paradigms in automobile or transportation or energy sector where software or digitalization is a very strong theme. As the data gets the new oil, the data becomes a new life and blood of any enterprise. You have to the data gets more and more fragmented and more distributed. You pretty much have to think about a new data management plane. How do you really understand the data? How do you really put it together? And which is what Druva's core agenda is. We are about 500 employees, 4,000 customers, 50 petabyte of data under management. We partner very strongly with AWS, their top 5 storage partners, and have scaled very well across multiple industries, pharmaceutical, technology, state and federal as being top 3 verticals. And going further, so what's the problem we face today? The problem we face today is the fragmentation, disparity, and dispersity of data. You're deploying new applications in your data center, at the edge, or in the cloud. As you deploy new applications, the nature of data management changes. Number one, you're worried about what is it, how is it provisioned, who has control and visibility into it. And as you're provisioning new kind of applications across the globe, you have a really strong, as you're deploying new applications, the trends around management of data becoming more and more riskier, right? 1 out of 3 companies who get hit by ransomware attacks or hit by any specific malware attack, which is a small SMB company, they're out of business, right? The number of lawsuits on any organization which involved, getting subpoenaed for a critical information is increasing day by day. The number of subpoenas per Fortune 500 number is increasing day by day. So as a risk to data emerge, a critical question comes across is where is my data? Who's managing it? Who's responsible for retention? Who's responsible for protection, governance, the whole 9 yards. And there's only an accelerating trends. What you're seeing in Facebook today, what you're seeing in other parts of the world today, data privacy is becoming the new buzzword. So bottom line is all these indicates to one core trend, right? Which is how do I manage my data more effectively? And this is what Druva is really passionate about. Traditionally, this is how you manage data. You had a bunch of softwares. You build different architectures for different use cases. One of the most core architecture which were built to retain data was backup, right? There were other ways to build resiliency and retention, but backup was a core use case where you had deployed a software, a hardware, some tapes, archiving, shipping, and then you thought backup could really help me solve archival or maybe offsiding or maybe retention issues. But then other problems emerged like e-discovery and searchability of data and disaster recovery of data. So companies started deploying multiple architectures, multiple copies of data all around the world. And this whole, the mashup of different data sources, different clouds, and different needs emerging is making the job very, very hard. Architectural complexity creates a lot of silos of data for dark data, and your cost compounds. With a recent change in hyperconverged, you can see some of the elements still get shrink. You have the backup software and backup hardware sort of getting squeezed into a single box, better scalability, but that's still not enough, right? The enterprise are going into this whole behavior of consumption economy that why do I have to still build stuff? And when people build stuff for a single architecture, even though they never use it for other goods, right? Whereas the hardware world is still very much focused on, let me build my best backup and let the next guy worry about e-discovery separately or DR separately. So how do we get these different data needs collapsed in a single architecture we're not only solving a technology problem, but solving a business problem with people coming in, interacting with data as well. So that's what Druva does. Druva gets the data from different parts of your organization. Could be your local data sources, traditional data sources, your branch offices, endpoints, and data centers, or could be your cloud data sources, your deployed platform, deployed SaaS services, deployed hosted environments. Puts a single golden copy in a cloud, which we have built on AWS. That's the only option we have today. And power multiple use cases. The first and foremost use case is simple need of resiliency of data through backup and recovery. But from there, we have built value proposition on governance, which is compliance, archival, and e-discovery. And then data intelligence, building a roadmap for solving deeper search and analysis. And this is both a technology shift and a business mindset shift, because what you're solving for when you go down the path of collapsing multiple silos, you have to make the data defendable, usable, and also understand the workflows of those departments, the legal department, the compliance department, the analysis department, to sort of blend those workflows in a common platform. And we do this all without using any piece of hardware. It's a purely software-driven, cloud-driven, cloud-native architecture, natively built on AWS. So what does cloud-native mean? What does SaaS mean, right? There's a lot of cloud washing going on. There's a lot of talk about cloud and cloud-defined storage. But what truly, for a buyer, cloud means, it's not the cloud which matters, it's the cloudiness which really, really matters. That can I consume on demand? Can I really, so if you think about data center, right? Software-defined data center was a technology hurdle. But cloud is more a business paradigm. When you're saying, can I buy an SLA from you? Can you guarantee me uptime, resiliency of my data anywhere in the globe on a single price point, right? It's not so much about hardware and software. It's about, can I have a global reach? Can I have a predictable cost and SLAs across the globe? Can I have a fully elastic workload? If I decide to go 10x deployment tomorrow, can you support me? Do I have to buy more boxes and put more services, or could you grow on demand? Can you give me security? Could you give me confidence on controls around security? Who cares about security? And then eventually, how do I not do the plumbing of buying hardware, deploying hardware, if it all has to, if it all can be managed by Druva? So giving you a price consistency, a complete elasticity control of data anywhere in the globe, wherever you need it, is the true SaaS benefit Druva offers, the true business benefit Druva offers. And we deploy and available all across 28 different regions between AWS, and obviously can support a lot more as they come along available. It's one single platform. There's no multiple softwares, hardware, single platform. You consume the different technologies as apps. So you have apps for devices, data center technology, compliance, disaster recovery, cloud apps. You explore the workflows through a simple search bar. You can search for VMware backup or legal hold or PII data. You can do a search of a workflow and documentation. A single platform gives you access into your learning experience. How do you learn about new technologies coming on board? The platform talks about your availability of services, your deployment of services. It talks about all your support experience. So it really combines truly a SaaS-like experience, what you're really used to buying from Salesforce.com or Office 365, in a beautiful UI delivered for all the data across the globe. It's consumed by 3 core product lines, which this platform offers. One is called InSync, which is all designed for end users, focused on endpoints and application. Second called Phoenix, focused on data center and remote offices. And third called Apollo, purely for PaaS and IaaS platforms on top of AWS, trying to manage data born in AWS. So we will go through deep dive of this platform and these products today. So just to give you a highlight about these 3 product lines, Phoenix is a backup is an integrated backup DR retention for data center and remote offices, focused on a lot of structured data or big enterprise apps. You can do a backup and recovery direct from your office to the cloud. Can do an easy job of DR and mobility. Any workload you backup can be spun up in the cloud. We do a very deep integration to spin up instances in the cloud. You can retain long enough. The backups you do automatically get converted into a cold storage, Glacier storage over time. So you don't have to do the plumbing of, wait a minute, what is hot, what is warm, what is cold. We do all the math for you, see the data which is aging, and appropriately move it to Glacier at the right time. And we can back up cloud to cloud. We integrate with the VPN, the networking layer at AWS, or VPN gateways or private link coming up to manage and back up data, the classic deployed apps in your cloud environment as well. It's fully elastic, pay as you go, consumption pricing. The way you buy it is you consume credits. There's no peak capacity planning beginning of the order. You pay as you go as you deploy the service.
So I have a question for you.
Sure, absolutely.
There are other companies in this space, so what's your uniqueness? Like, why would people want to choose your company over other ones?
So the unique opportunity, the unfair advantage we have is the SaaS offering, the true as a service consumption of anything we have to offer. And I don't think anybody else offers that today.
Okay.
So either you can deploy software. So there's a big gap between software and SaaS, and Curtis will go deep into it. But think of SaaS as not just deploying software, but deploying software, but security, cost optimization, scalability, elasticity, all built into it. So you can deploy an exchange in the cloud, but Office 365 is really what we offer for data management. Did I answer your question?
Yeah, and we'll see how it all works in a bit, right?
Exactly. So we're getting the whole essence of pay-as-you-go SaaS across any data management app across the globe.
Okay.
InSync is focused on end-user data. Since it's dealing with a lot of unstructured data, the end-user data, it does a great job of backup and recovery across all endpoints. It does a really good job of building the deep enough search and e-discovery workflows to do classic your left side of e-discovery of retention of data, culling of data, and then has a really good built features for compliance monitoring and how do you find PII data for GDPR, and then can be used for forensics as well. Over time, we get these features in other part of our platform as well.
Excuse me. You mentioned GDPR being part of the compliance and monitoring. So are you building that in now, or is that already available?
It's already available.
Okay.
So GDPR, no one party can solve GDPR. There are multiple aspects of GDPR. What we solve for is finding the PII data, the personal data, across all of the end-user environment. The GDPR starts with understanding where is my data. If I have a request, where do I delete it? The hardest part to solve is the data out of data center in endpoints or cloud services, Salesforce.com, Office 365, which we can identify, search, find, and delete.
What about unstructured data or NoSQL?
So we don't today. So be it NoSQL or even structured data at databases, that's very tied to an application workflow versus finding and deleting it. So we typically focus on unstructured data, the human data, not so much of NoSQL and databases today.
Or if an organization has customer data in a MongoDB.
Right. We don't do it today.
Okay. Thank you.
As I said, GDPR needs to have multiple solutions. We do one part of it very well.
Right.
Apollo is a newer offering. It's focused on managing data from a snapshot point of view, lifecycle point of view, visibility point of view, all born in AWS. Today, we're starting with the snapshot management for Amazon EC2, but we have over time building expertise in lifecycle, which means how do I move my data across services, visibility and provisioning. What is it? What are we using in the cloud? And then finally, disposition as well. To back to the point, if customers asking, can I dispose data I'm not going to need or for a legal reason, to disposition as well. That's going to be Apollo, and we'll talk about it today as well.
So is that driven entirely off snapshots from EC2?
So EC2 is a starting point, but it'll start doing the same control plane for S3 and Glacier and others. So the nature of data management changes. For EC2 was snapshots. right? And you need file-level recovery and search across EC2 instances, which is what we're trying to do here. S3 is all about version management, visibility. What is it in S3? How many buckets do I have? What are the hotspots in buckets? Which one do I need to keep? Which one do I need to lifecycle? Which one do I need to put in Glacier or dispose even? So it will take the similar workflows across apps. And we are initially focused on across apps. So can I take a Redshift stream and dump it into Glacier? Can I get it back from Glacier to Redstream? So those workflows are not very well built or defined in AWS. So data management aspect, data provisioning, visibility management aspect of AWS is what you're solving from here.
Okay, but you're covering EC2 and S3 today.
Today we cover only EC2.
Only EC2.
Today only EC2 as available as an EA, but we're going into other services.
Right, okay.
Let's speak about.
Excuse me, I have a question. Is Apollo also available on Azure, or if no, why?
So today only AWS.
Okay.
Today only AWS and not Azure. But in future, possibly.
Okay.
So the big vision is to expand it towards cross-cloud, but we're starting small and we'll grow from there.
Okay, thanks.
And over 4,000 customers, we have rather than going to the long list, we have the #1 brand in the world as customer. We have 3 of Fortune 10. We have 15 of Fortune 100. We have all the 4 major contractors of federal government. We have 5 of top 15 pharma companies as customers. We have 4 major consulting and taxation companies in the world. We have the top 3 of top 5 technology brands in the world as customers.
How does customers break down into the 3 product silos, percentage-wise?
So percentage-wise, it started off. So percentage-wise, a big chunk still in NSYNC, but our Phoenix and Apollo are almost 50% of our new sales now. So they're growing very, very fast. Phoenix is consumption-based. So even though a lot of customers are adopting it, consumption is going skyrocket right now. So we're solving and going forward. Also, we are evolving with the customer need. 3 years ago or 4 years ago, customers said, my most viable workload is my remote offices and endpoints. And the data center had some physics around, can I move my data fast enough, bandwidth, all those things. And then the market opened up 2 years ago and we went into it, and now we're going to Apollo. So we're going with the customer journey. We see a lot of cross-pollination. We're seeing a good trend in SaaS backup of Office 365, Box, Salesforce.com into it as well.
So bear in mind you own the metadata relating to all of these customers.
Sorry?
Bearing in mind you own the metadata relating to all of these customers.
That's right.
What insights have you been able to draw from the data that's being backed up?
Well, it's a great question. Very, very interesting question. I don't know if I have time to answer it. Maybe I should. Maybe take 1 minute on it. So I think it's a great question, and there's 2 parts of it, right? Metadata is a new data. I think going after it first is a lot more important than going after data, given the large size of data lakes. So we found interesting things in metadata, right? So we've used it in multiple ways, and we are building so for example, we found that we could make NetApp backups 100x faster by understanding the hotspots of a NetApp filer and building machine learning to understand the NetApp consumption. And we built something called Smart Scan. We'll cover today in Phoenix, which does a really fast job of backing up NetApp. There was one use case. Okay. Second use case is ransomware. We could easily point out anomalies in data and entropies in data, which we'll showcase today. We can easily figure out that these are the snapshots which were kind of dirty, and we can recover from them cleanly. We are looking at other use cases of metadata. They require a long tail of validation before we can market them, given we are a SaaS offering. But we would love to share more as we present today.
Okay.
Any last question before
I was going to say real quick, to put that into context, like how much data across all those companies are you dealing with? 53
petabyte today.
Okay.
And it's doubling every year. So it'll be 100 petabyte by end of the year. And we're going a lot upstream. So we have a lot of enterprise customers. So even though our number, and we are, as we deploy a lot of Fortune 500s, I think we'll double or more than double in data volume in a year's time frame. And it's all deduped in the cloud. It's all single dedupe storage in the cloud.
So is that single dedupe per tenant or a single dedupe across the entire?
Per storage, per tenant. So a one tenant can have multiple storage given the region. Okay. One in Europe, one in East Coast, one in West Coast. Per storage, it's all global deduped.
What sort of separation is there between tenants and can you bring your own encryption keys, those types of things? I think offering backup as a service could raise some real security flags for a lot of organizations.
We have the best security firms, 14 federal agencies using our cloud. We're the only FedRAMP certified service in the world. We got sponsored by NHS and NCI. So we have gone through the long tail of security, and we have a security presentation by Curtis. I think the sense of physical control of data in the cloud is a losing proposition. I think what you got to do is figure out the processes and controls and what are the logical boundaries of data to make sure my SLAs are met, both from resiliency and both from privacy of my data. So that we have really well covered. We have a very nicely built multi-tenant all cloud architecture, which means there is to some extent commingling of some part of data, not commingling from a point of view of somebody seeing the data, but commingling of architecture and multi-tenancy, but very cleanly built privacy and security controls to be only certified cloud by FedRAMP.
Okay.
Can you go back to what you said about FedRAMP compliance? You said you're the only what?
Only SaaS service to do this job.
The only SaaS
Data management.
protection service.
That's right. Sorry, yes, that's what I meant.
And,
they were last I checked, there are 28 global services which got FedRAMP certified. FedRAMP is only rated for SaaS, not for software. And there's a public information. And we were the only data management SaaS offering to get FedRAMP certified.